Every immigrant carries two things: a suitcase and a silent hope that life will finally be kinder. My name is Jas Brar. When I came to Canada, I carried the same dream as millions of immigrants: a dream for stability, dignity, and a peaceful life. My journey began in December 2017, arriving in Regina, a place with a strong indigenous presence and a winter colder than anything I had ever imagined. I studied at the University of Regina, worked at KFC, drove people home late at night as a designated driver, learning this new world while surviving minus 40 winds and a long bus waits. Canada is known around the world for its diversity, a place where cultures meet, mix, and find a home. But when you look closer, you start to wonder, is this diversity bringing us together or quietly pulling us apart? To understand that, I wanted to hear directly from Canadians themselves in their own words.
We've had a wonderful system that has slowly been falling apart. I think there's a lot of other issues that come economically and everything with it. But right now, I'd say Canada is in suffering a little bit with its immigration system and how we've kind of developed into.
Canada is a very diverse country right now, especially with a lot of immigrants coming in from the last 20, 30 years. Although there is a lot of racism towards those immigrants that have come here, and it is sad to see in our country.
It seems to be a lot of division between people. Uh, Myself, I kind of like it. I like that we're a country that prides itself on diversity and to give everyone a chance.
The immigration diversity is what makes this country strong. I worked in the news business for 45 years, and you can really see the change in Canada.
Across Canada, the Punjabi community has become one of the fastest growing immigrant groups. From small towns to big cities, Punjabis have built businesses, driven trucks, worked farms, filled classrooms, and shaped entire neighborhoods with their culture, their language, and their hard work. But with influence also comes attention, sometimes positive, sometimes critical. In this chapter, I want to step back from assumptions and simply ask Canadians themselves, how do they see the Punjabi presence in their cities, their communities, and their everyday lives?
At one point, I think there was a lot more acceptance happening with immigration and people coming in. I think, unfortunately, again, because of our economy and how we've dealt with the immigration system, we've kind of overloaded ourselves.
I don't think that immigrants are fully accepted into Canada right now. I mean, there's lots of racism and prejudice towards the Daisy community in Canada that I notice almost every day. They don't see it from their perspective, how scary it is to come from a different country, especially that far away, where you're leaving your family and everything, and you're coming here and you're surrounded by people that are saying racist things, or they're judging you based on who you are and what culture you come from.
I think they were more so like 5, 6 years ago, but I think the general masses of people find less acceptance nowadays.
It's a difficult one, but yes, I'd have to unfortunately say that there is still, problems with people accepting other people. Anybody that, used the term Canadian should be incredibly proud of where we live, what we get, the freedoms we have.
we're starting to speak out and say things, and we're not the polite people that we used to be. We're not the accepting people that we used to be. But I think to be Canadian, that's what it should be, is to be accepting of multiculturalism.
The revitalization of the vineyards, orchards, and you can see even in places like your subways and that the community has really come and actually revived a whole bunch of those industries.
Yeah, I used to work with a bunch at a restaurant when I was still in high school. And some of the nicest people I've ever met who just wanted a job, worked harder than like everyone around them.
A week ago of how my wife and I, we were actually sitting in a subway, and we noticed a lady interacting with a young girl behind the counter. And before that, my wife and I were kind of talking about, I don't want to use the word cold, but does it feel like we're standoffish to each other? And so when the lady walked by, my wife said, "Oh, is that your daughter?" And then all of a sudden it was like, no, that's not my daughter. It's a friend that owns the business. And then her husband was there. Next thing you knew, we were talking about children. We were talking about the businesses they own.
In the past, our immigration system was kind of pushing towards the young, fresh couple coming to make that new life. Now, we've kind of corrupted our system, and what's coming in are students and kind of older people, and it's less of that young couple because they know that life is not as good here.
I think that it comes from a place of ignorance, especially to people in Canada, because they see it as people come here and they don't fully interact and everything, but they don't see it from their perspective, how scary it is to come from a different country, especially that far away, where you're leaving your family and everything. And you're coming here and you're surrounded by people that are saying racist things, or they're judging you based on who you are and what culture you come from.
I guess that also kind of makes me a little sad, because it would be awesome if we could all just kind of come together. But I don't know, it's kind of like when you go to school, you know what I mean? If you're like the new kid in school, you kind of stick to yourself sometimes, or if you find something that's like familiar, a lot of people will just like immediately attach to that. And obviously there's a lot of people here who could be doing a lot better of a job of accepting.
Every community carries its stories and its stereotypes. For the Punjabi community, headlines about crime or a gang activity have often overshadowed the everyday reality of hard work, family, and a contribution.
People are starting to develop bad images, and of course, like I was saying, there's bad apples, and so you're gonna have that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with a white man. It's the same thing with anything. Like every race and every person, like there's bad apples everywhere. So it's just unfortunate that there's so much attention on this, and because of our economy and how it's affecting it, people are quick to blame. And unfortunately, with our society, we have a lot of racism in parts, and there are a lot of people who are falling back to an old school way. And I wouldn't say it was like because of Indian people. I think it's more because of government and how things have shifted.
I grew up in Alberta and Saskatchewan, where I'd say there's a very racist communities there, and people would always say like it's becoming like Singhordens, or this place, it's becoming very dirty in this country because of the immigrants coming here, which I think is just untrue. I think it's just the state of Canada right now is not great, and a lot of people here find a reason to blame everything on that, and they take towards blaming like the Daisy community, the Daisy population in Canada.
There was a young gentleman who, at the bus stop, I can't remember what exactly transpired, but he was attacked by, I believe, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 men, and they beat him and dragged him out of the stop. It's horrible to hear about.
There are these stories and everything, but I mean, there is much more worse gang stuff happening everywhere else than Punjabi gang. Haven't heard anything that I've been like, holy shit, like we need, like what the hell is this?
I feel like they come here and they see that influence and everything, and then you get caught up into it. pretty easily. I mean, it happens for my communities too, where there's a city influence on like the reserves for like indigenous people, and it becomes like a way of like just trying to find a group, I guess, trying to find like somewhere you belong, and it's not always great.
Mainstream media and everything is just, to me, is a controlled media, so I tend not to pay attention to it. What they're feeding you is just something for you to worry about that you don't need to worry about, really. Like, there's a lot more happening in the world than what the liberal news is telling you, so.
It's definitely negative a lot of the time, and it's focusing on many stereotypes or biases about Indian people.
Because, like I said, being in the industry for so many years, you hope that the people you work with and the news organizations do a balanced job. So I'm going to have to go with, I believe that, balanced reporting is done majority of the time fairly.
Many immigrants arrive believing Canada is a land of opportunity, a place where hard work meets fairness and dreams can be built from scratch. But over time, some Canadians feel that dream is changing, slipping, or becoming harder to reach. For newcomers, the journey is not just about finding a job or a home. It's about understanding where you fit in a society that is constantly evolving.
If you look at the unemployment rate in Canada, it's dropped tremendously. And so it's very difficult. And I understand why foreign students come here, get the studies, and then want to go home. Because in the end, you have good studies with a good job that now you can go home, use, and actually make money that's livable. And you're not in a society that's kind of suffering, that's attacking you for who you are also. So it's tough. I think the Canadian dream right now is not there. I think, unfortunately, as an economy, we've kind of failed our country.
I don't think Canada was really ever that welcoming country that we ever said we were, personally. It always seemed like something to manipulate and control people when they can. For instance, they always had the Canadian dream for my people when they came here, and that dream ended up being a near eradication of my people.
Without the immigration and without the interaction with people, the country's not going to continue to grow. Even in my world, my children, are they having children? No. Or, are my nieces and nephews not having children? No. So without immigration, the country's not going to continue to grow.
It's always great to be hopeful, because it'd be nice to see that divide change, because right now it's a huge divide, and you can start to see, with even if you take out just the immigrant side and just take the white man itself and look at how of a division is happening there, and then you take the immigrant piece, and that's a whole nother, and there's just, everyone's divided into groups now, and there's no more this multiculturalism of coming together with each other.
Everyone's kind of divided, power in numbers, and it doesn't feel safe, anymore. It's just feels like teams against teams or groups against groups, and it's really sad.
After listening to these voices, I realized something I never understood when I first came to this country. We all live in the same Canada, but each of us sees a different version of it. For immigrants like me, Canada is a promise, a chance to rebuild. Belonging is a built, conversation by conversations, kindness by kindness, and sometimes mistake by mistake. I saw that stereotype, don't tell our story. Headlines don't show our sacrifices, and the fear doesn't show our humanity. What really shapes Canada is the everyday moments. A stranger helping you on a freezing night, a teacher believing in you, a neighbor inviting you in, that quietly remind us why we came here in the first place. The Canadian dream may not be as simple as it once was. Life is expensive, division exists, and the path to stability feels longer than ever. But still, there is a hope. Challenging each other and slowly building a country where our differences don't divide us, they define us. If this documentary has shown me anything, it's this: Canada isn't just a place we live, it's a story we are all writing together, and this story is just beginning.